If you're learning design on your own and your work never looks quite right, you keep moving things around, resizing, adjusting, and it still feels amateur, you're not lacking talent. You're lacking structure. And that's because the difference between amateur and professional designers is not better software. It's that professional designers never start on a blank page. They start with a system. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how I use a simple modular grid to turn this messy Bad Bunny pin into a professional, structured, and balanced layout. So you can stop guessing and start designing with confidence. All right, but first, let's look at an example of a bad design and see how we can fix it. Okay, in this bad example, the problem we have is that everything is centered, and this is not a dynamic way of presenting visual information. So we don't have a clearly defined focal point, although we do have an image in the center and we have some text, but we don't really know where to look at. As a viewer, I cannot tell what is the most important information and the least important information. So we have to give visual cues to our viewer so that she can see our message in a way that's interesting and in a way that makes sense. So here we lack hierarchy. We don't have an information map that will tell us what is the most important information or what I should be paying attention to. We are also lacking a focal point. That means nothing is really dominating visually. We're walking by and we see a poster on a wall. The point of that poster is for us to pay attention to it. And when we lack hierarchy, when we lack a focal point, we are not helping the viewer pay attention to our message. Okay, so how do we fix it? To begin with, we will use a modular grid. And grids are a fantastic tool because they allow us to move things around automatically without having to think too much about, are we applying good design principles? Are we applying the rules? So the grid will teach us how to place things in a composition in a way that works. Another thing we can do is apply hierarchy. And this is a great design principle that we're using all of the time. So with hierarchy, we get to tell the viewer what matters the most in a composition. And we do this by using color, by using scale, by using graphic elements according to the grid. So by using the grid and by using hierarchy, we're organizing information strategically so that our message is consistent, our composition looks designed. But before we start designing, let me tell you what I did to gather my visual elements and to prepare them for this composition. I went to Google Images and I started looking at Bad Bunny pictures. And I identified a picture that would help me convey my message. And then I went to a free online tool, which is Microsoft Designer, and I automatically removed the background from that image. Then I took this image without the background and I imported it to GIMP, which is a free pixel software. And I used a filter called Newsprint to make it look as if it was a halftone image. And the point of this was to make the image look a little bit more interesting, but also to modify it from the original. All right, let's start building our Pinterest pin. Pinterest pin is great for learning design and composition because it is a vertical design which applies to posters, to flyers. So it's a great way to start thinking about composition in general. All right, so let's turn on the grid itself. So let's go to View, Guides. Remember, this is something that I built and you can download it for free in the link below. Let's start moving things around through the grid. So we can start by placing things inside a module. One of the things is to create a focal point. And of course, I want the image of Bad Bunny to become the focal point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply what we call dominance. And dominance is basically giving scale or size to graphic elements. Now I'm occupying a big chunk of the space, and Space is something that we always need to pay attention to, because space is something in design. It is not nothing. Space has a presence, and space is what holds everything together in a composition. Let's start applying some hierarchy to the information. So, of course, we have the name Bad Bunny, which is the name of the artist, and that is very important. DTMF, which is the name of the album, that should have a secondary place in terms of importance. So as you can see, I'm already applying hierarchy by applying scale, which is size. And now I'm going to show hierarchy in visual terms by changing the font and by playing around with the font weights, whether the font is bold or heavy or normal. All right, so what I did here is I used a very strong font for Bad Bunny. I'm actually looking at this image of his new record, and I'm trying to emulate a little bit the font that's already part of the brand to sort of try to emulate it with the fonts I already have in my computer. What you're doing actually is separating information. I'm creating hierarchy not only through size, but also through font choice. So right now, as you can see, this is looking way better than our bad design examples. The only thing we've done is we have moved things around according to the grid. Let's add some more visual elements so that the message is even more interesting and can capture the attention of someone who is passing by, for example. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some color by extracting some of the colors from this album cover. And the point of this is to actually use the branding that's already available. All right, so another thing I did here is to add this geometric shape. And this is a trick that I find to be true, which is when you have a plain composition or when you don't know exactly what to do, if you add some geometric shapes to a composition, it will make it more interesting, especially if you're using a grid. So this is a trick that actually we have seen many times with Swiss design. And you can check Swiss design out and model it if you want to do this kind of geometric, minimalistic kind of designs. All right, so here's our finished composition. Let's look at it without the grid. So we can see we have now clear hierarchy. So information is organized in terms of the most important to the least important. We have a focal point. We have a graphic element that helps us pay attention to this message. And also everything is nicely laid out in terms of a grid, which automatically makes it well designed. It's a design that works, and this is something that you can repeat every single time. So if you're interested in learning more about design principles and how to apply them in every design, check this video out.